You're in your 60s, but if your arteries are already in their 80s, don't be surprised when your legs start going numb, or worse, when your heart struggles to keep its rhythm. I know that sounds uncomfortable to hear, but as a clinical nutrition professional, my job is not to scare you. My job is to tell you the truth early enough, so you still have time to change the ending. Let me ask you something gently. When you feel tingling, numbness, or that heavy cold feeling in your feet, do you really believe it's just old age? Because medically speaking, age itself does not block blood flow. What blocks blood flow is plaque. Plaque is not just fat in the blood. It is a complex mixture of cholesterol, calcium, inflammatory cells, and damaged proteins that slowly sticks to the inner wall of your arteries. Over time, that smooth, flexible blood vessel, the one designed to expand and contract with every heartbeat, starts to behave like a rusty steel pipe. Hard, narrow, fragile. And when that happens, oxygen-rich blood cannot reach your legs, your feet, or even your heart muscle efficiently. That is why so many people say, I'm taking my heart medication. I'm taking my supplements. So why do my legs still feel dead? The medication is not the problem. The nutrients are not the problem. The problem is the road they are trying to travel on. You have spent decades working, raising children, supporting family. You deserve a retirement where you walk with confidence, not one where you measure every step by fear of falling. And this is where we start, with something very simple, something inexpensive, something many people underestimate: garlic. Not as a flavor, not as folklore, but as a biological tool. Garlic contains a sulfur-based compound called allicin. When garlic is crushed or chopped, allicin is released, and this compound directly interacts with the inner lining of your blood vessels, what we call the endothelium. A healthy endothelium produces nitric oxide. Nitric oxide tells your arteries to relax, to widen, to allow blood to flow smoothly instead of grinding forward under pressure. As we age, nitric oxide production drops. That is one reason arteries stiffen. Allicin helps restore part of that signaling. This is not theory. This is not alternative medicine. A well-controlled study published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2016 followed adults with arterial plaque for 1 full year. Those who consumed 2,400 milligrams of aged garlic extract daily experienced an average 6.5% reduction in carotid artery plaque thickness. That may sound like a small number, but in vascular medicine, that degree of regression is significant, especially without surgery and without increasing drug dosage. Here is what matters most for you. Garlic does not scrape plaque off your arteries like a brush. What it does is more intelligent than that. It reduces oxidative stress, it calms chronic inflammation, it improves endothelial function. In simple terms, it makes your blood vessels younger than your calendar age. That is why garlic is not just a seasoning. It is vascular nutrition. And if you are thinking, I've eaten garlic my whole life, so why do I still have problems? The answer is dosage, preparation, and consistency. We will talk about that later. But first, you need to understand something important. Garlic softens the road, but it does not work alone. Because inflammation is the fire that keeps plaque alive, and that fire needs to be addressed next. And that brings us to the next food, one that your grandparents trusted and modern cardiology has finally caught up with. Ginger, a root we've known for centuries, a flavor in your kitchen, a comfort in your tea. But beyond all that, ginger is inflammation's quiet enemy. When we talk about arterial plaque, we often focus on cholesterol. But that's only half the story, because plaque doesn't build quietly. It builds through fire. Inflammation is that fire. It's what makes the lining of your arteries sticky. It's what invites cholesterol to stay. And over time, it's what causes that cholesterol to harden, rupture, and block. Now imagine this. Every heartbeat is trying to push blood through a narrow hallway. And that hallway is swollen, inflamed, irritated. Ginger enters the scene not with force, but with calm. The active compound in ginger is called gingerol. It is responsible for both the warm spice you taste and the cool effect it has inside your body. Gingerol inhibits inflammatory pathways like NF-κB, which play a direct role in developing chronic cardiovascular disease. In simpler terms, ginger lowers the heat inside your arteries. A randomized clinical trial published in the International Journal of Cardiology in 2020 found that just 2 grams of ginger per day, that's about half a teaspoon of dried ginger, was enough to significantly reduce C-reactive protein, CRP, in patients with atherosclerosis. What is the precise rhythm that mimics the heartbeat? Let's move to number 3. We are now at number 3, the 3-to-1 golden ratio. Many patients ask me, "Doctor, can I just dip my foot in the cold water for a second? Or can I soak in the hot for 10 minutes because it feels nice?" The answer is no. Physics demands precision. If you want results, you must follow the math. The protocol for vascular gymnastics is strictly 3 minutes hot, followed by 1 minute cold. Why this specific timing? Think about the biology. Heat moves slowly. It takes time for the thermal energy to penetrate through your skin, the subcutaneous fat layer, and the muscle to finally reach the deep arteries. We give it 3 minutes to ensure full vasodilation, opening the floodgates for fresh blood. But cold is a shock. It triggers a survival reflex in your nervous system almost instantly. As soon as that 55 degrees Fahrenheit water touches your skin, your brain screams, "Conserve heat," and clamps the vessel shut. That reaction is immediate. That is why 1 minute is all you need. Here is your workout routine. 1. Place both feet in the hot bucket, 100 degrees Fahrenheit to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Start your timer. Close your eyes and breathe. Stay there for 3 minutes. 2. When the timer beeps, lift your feet, move quickly but safely, and plunge them into the cold bucket, 50 degrees Fahrenheit to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Reset timer for 1 minute. 3. Repeat this cycle 3 to 5 times. Think about what is happening inside. 3 cycles means you have manually pumped the blood in your legs 3 full times. You are doing the heavy lifting that your aging heart is struggling to do. We are halfway through the protocol. But before we dive into the microscopic miracle that happens in your veins, I have a request. We are building this health roadmap together, video by video. If you appreciate a channel that respects your intelligence and explains the why instead of just giving orders, please subscribe now. By clicking that button, you ensure you won't miss the next step, where we talk about cleaning the blood itself. Join us and let's age backwards together. Now let's get to number 2. This is the part that excites me as a doctor. This is the mechanism. Why does this work? It's not magic, it's nitric oxide. To understand this, you need to know about the endothelium. This is the incredibly thin layer of cells lining the inside of every blood vessel in your body. For decades, medicine thought it was just a smooth wallpaper. We were wrong. The endothelium is actually a dynamic internal pharmacy. When you perform contrast hydrotherapy, the rapid expansion, hot, and contraction, cold, create a physical force called shear stress on these vessel walls. According to extensive research published in the Journal of Physiology, this shear stress stimulates the endothelial cells to release a molecule called nitric oxide, NO. Why should a 70-year-old care about nitric oxide? Because nitric oxide is the WD-40 for your arteries. It signals your arteries to relax naturally, lowering blood pressure without pills. It prevents white blood cells and platelets from becoming sticky, reducing the risk of plaque buildup. Imagine a garden hose that has been left in the sun for 20 years. It gets stiff, brittle, and prone to cracking. That is your artery as you age. Now imagine applying a conditioner that makes that rubber hose soft, flexible, and elastic again. That is what nitric oxide does. Other good sources include aged cheeses, like Gouda or Brie, fermented dairy like kefir, egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens, grass-fed liver, and to a smaller extent, leafy greens, if your gut bacteria can convert K1 to K2. Now I can already hear your question. Can I just take a K2 supplement? Yes, you can, but you need to do it safely. If you're on a blood thinner like warfarin, you must talk to your doctor before adding any form of vitamin K, even K2. Because while K2 doesn't directly increase clotting, it can still interfere with your medication's mechanism. So be cautious. Be informed, and never mix supplements with prescriptions without professional guidance. That said, for those who are not on blood thinners, K2 may be one of the most overlooked tools for reversing early arterial calcification. It won't act overnight, but over months, even years, it helps turn your stone roads back into smooth highways. And remember, calcium doesn't move on its own. It needs direction, it needs permission, and K2 provides both. Let's take a breath here. We've covered a lot. Garlic to open the pathway, ginger to reduce inflammation, and now K2 to keep calcium moving the right way. But there's something important I need to say next. Even if you eat all the right foods, if your circulation is already weak, if your feet are numb, or your legs feel cold, you might not be absorbing these nutrients where they're needed most, because nutrients travel in blood. And if blood flow is sluggish, blocked, or insufficient, then even the best food can't perform. In the next part, I'll explain how these three foods work together to unlock your vascular health step by step. And I'll also give you critical safety reminders, especially if you're already on medication for blood pressure or diabetes. Because when it comes to healing, food is powerful, but context is everything. Let's walk through that next together. So let's take a moment to bring it all together. Three simple foods, each with a different role, each supporting your arteries from a different direction. Garlic softens, ginger soothes. Vitamin K2 steers, but none of them work in isolation. Their real power comes when you combine them. Consistently, intentionally, and safely. If you eat garlic once a week, it may flavor your meal, but if you consume it daily, it may soften your arteries. If you add ginger to cookies, it may taste nice. But if you use fresh ginger in your morning tea or cooking, it may reduce the inflammatory burden in your blood vessels. If you get your vitamin K2 from an occasional piece of cheese, it's a start. But if you include fermented foods or proper supplementation, you give your body a daily signal. Move calcium to the bones, keep it out of my arteries. Let me be clear, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Even modest regular intake of these foods has shown measurable changes in blood flow, inflammation levels, and plaque thickness. But before you rush to the kitchen or the health store, let me share a few critical reminders. First, if you are taking blood thinners like warfarin or Coumadin, you must speak to your physician before adding large amounts of garlic or K2. Both can affect how your blood clots, sometimes in ways you won't feel until there's a problem. Second, if you have diabetes or low blood pressure, be aware that garlic and ginger can slightly lower blood sugar and pressure. That's a good thing, unless it overlaps with your medications and causes lightheadedness or fatigue. Third, if you experience chest pain, dizziness, or numbness that worsens, stop self-treatment and see your doctor. Food is powerful, but it is not a substitute for emergency care. Now that said, for the majority of healthy older adults, these three foods can safely become part of a long-term prevention strategy. And here's something beautiful about food. It doesn't just act biologically, it acts emotionally. Because when you take charge of what you eat, you send a powerful message to yourself and your family. I'm still in control. I'm still fighting. I'm not giving in to this aging process. And let's be honest, it's not just about arteries. It's about independence. You want to walk at the park, not sit by the window. You want to hold your grandchildren, not be helped to the bathroom. Your circulation determines your freedom, and your freedom begins with small daily decisions. So here's what I want you to do next. Start with one habit. Maybe it's a clove of garlic with breakfast. Maybe it's warm ginger tea before your morning walk. Or maybe it's trying a bite of natto or adding aged cheese to your salad. Start small, stay consistent, and most importantly, stay curious. Now, if you've made it this far into this video, you're not just a listener, you're a learner, you're a fighter. So comment below, I'm still fighting. Let me know you're walking this journey with me, that you're not letting numb legs or stiff arteries define your life. And if you really want to go deeper, because food is only half the story, click on the next video I've prepared. It walks you through 2 gentle leg exercises designed to help pump blood from your legs back to your heart. Especially if your feet feel cold, tingly, or heavy, you need to watch that next, because food clears the path, but movement keeps the blood flowing. And I promise you, when you combine the two, you will feel something shifting inside. Not just circulation, but confidence. And that, my friend, is the real cure for aging.